Welcome, everyone. Great to see so many faces on and new faces for information about the annual Region 15 Research Symposium. My name is Jason Kirchick, and I am the North America Region 15 Regional Coordinator. My role is to support all chapters in our region, which make up all of New England and part of Canada, Quebec, and Nova Scotia. And we're coming off the heels of a really great symposium. It was a wonderful event that Delta Epsilon at Large chapter hosted. We have the chair from this previous year, Emily Haynes, on the call this evening, and some other previous chairs. This was really a idea thought that came out of our strategic planning committee work of we wanted an opportunity to present information about the symposium to people who were interested in serving on the planning committee, to let them know sort of what roles that we have available, and get an overview of what the symposium is. And so excited to get everyone here. I'm going to advance my slide here. So a little bit of what we'll do tonight, we'll have our welcome and introductions, go over a little bit of an overview of the symposium, the history and the evolution, and where we are today. We're heading into our 8th year. The different subcommittee formations and signups, a calendar overview, what our next steps are, and then some time for questions and concerns. It's a very informal setting. We're among great friends, so please, if people have questions or anything at any time, please don't hesitate to raise your hand or drop something in the chat. So I would like to go with introductions. I think I've introduced myself. But what I'd love is for everyone on the call, just your name, what your chapter affiliation is, or school or university, what your current role in nursing is, and if you've served on the planning committee previously. So anyone jump in.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Sabola. I am with the Beta Zeta at Large chapter. I work at UMass Amherst in Massachusetts, and I'm part-time there. I have served on the planning committee 2 years ago, but took a year off and I'm back to help out. So thank you.
Great. Karen.
Hi, my name's Karen McKenney. I'm the current president of Omega Mu chapter at large up in Burlington, Vermont, and we are hosting this year with Jason's help for the symposium. I've been with Sigma since 2010, and I am a nurse manager in the cardiac cath lab at UVM Medical Center.
Marilee.
Yes, I'm Marilee of Yakimoff, and I am the newly elected treasurer of the Theta Alpha chapter at UMass Boston. And I currently teach a community health nursing course to RN to BSN students. And I haven't served on this planning committee previously, but I was an officer in another chapter for many, many years.
Great. And how did you hear about the meeting for tonight, Marilee?
Our newly elected president sent out an announcement and said, we need somebody there. And I think we have 2 or 3 people here actually, so.
Oh, that's great. Okay. And Emily.
Hi. So I'm a member of Delta Upsilon in Rhode Island, and I am a PhD student at URI. Our chapter hosted the last symposium, and I was the chair of that planning committee.
Thanks, Emily. And Terry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Terry Cahill Griffin, and I'm the current president of Kappa Tau chapter at the University of Vermont. And I also am the vice chair for undergraduate education at the University of Vermont. And it's my first time on a planning committee with you all.
Awesome. You can make it, Terry. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jason.
And Nancy. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Thompson. I am a member of Beta Zeta at Large chapter, which is in Western Massachusetts. I teach part-time in the College of Nursing at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. I've served on every one of the nursing symposium planning committees since 2018 and was honored and very busy working as the chair for the symposium in 2021, when Beta Zeta hosted, and we had to be all virtual at the time. So welcome everyone. This is a fun and exciting time in planning this symposium. Thank you.
And Nancy keeps me honest because she's one of the founding members, so she keeps me on my toes. So thank you for that, Nancy. Eliza,
Somebody has to, Jason.
too true. I have more than you know, Nancy. Believe me. Eliza.
Hi, good evening. I'm Eliza Deneur. I'm with UMass Boston's Theta Alpha chapter. I'm president-elect, and I met some of you in San Antonio at the biennial convention. My current role in nursing, I am a PhD candidate, just received IRB approval for my study of nurses. It's a bystander to nurse bullying study. And I have not served on your planning committee previously, so I'm looking forward to seeing you again.
That's great. Thanks for being here. And Courtney.
Hi, good evening. My name is Courtney Orla Fitzgerald. I'm a member of the Theta at Large chapter, which is, I guess, kind of southern East Coast, Massachusetts. It's Simmons University, Curry College, and any alum from BU who are still with us. Although it's interesting, I work at Assumption University, which has its own chapter. I might have two memberships in the future. We will see. I was excited to work on the strategic plan for our region, and then now it's kind of refocused, hopefully looking forward to both looking forward at our regional symposium, making a plan for that, and then also helping with the next one.
That's great. Thanks, Courtney. And Elizabeth.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Liz Stark, and I am representing the Tauro chapter in Connecticut. I'm from Quinnipiac University, and I'm currently serving as the vice president of our Tauro chapter, but will be taking over as president at the end of this fall semester. So I'm really excited about that. So I currently serve as a clinical assistant professor at Quinnipiac University School of Nursing. And I heard about this meeting this evening through the at the the STTI website, and I'm here to learn more about the symposium and getting our chapter more involved with the symposium. So thank you for having me.
Great. Thanks for being here, Liz. And Denise, I saw you joined. Do you mind just giving your brief introduction?
My voice is not the best right now. So Denise Morris, I'm from the Iota Upsilon at Large chapter. And I am the treasurer. I'm also a MU chapter member, and I work for University of Connecticut.
Thanks for being here, Denise. Great to see you again.
You too. Thanks.
All right, so we're going to move forward. Let's see if I get this here. So the purpose statement that's been put out for the symposium, this is kind of the triangle logo, and to advance nursing practice and promote health equity by showcasing innovative research, fostering critical reflection, and inspiring collaborative action and nurse leadership among Sigma members. And, I was curious, we have some people who have attended this past year symposium, but we really had strong numbers. This symposium started in 2018, was the first regional symposium. And then after 2019, we went through COVID and, we still, were attending virtually. And then we've sort of moved to a hybrid model. And as of this last symposium, through grants and amazing sponsorship work at Delta Epsilon, we were able to invite students to attend for free. And we had over 50 students attend either in person or virtually. And it was wonderful, going around to the poster sessions and seeing students who had submitted abstracts for the first time, just thanking them for submitting that and being there. I think it was such a positive experience. It was wonderful to see how the faculty was mentoring those students through that process. Um, I'd like to know if anyone else, either I know Cheryl, Nancy, and Emily, you were there at this past year's conference, but and Courtney as well, any, takeaways, positives from this past year's symposium or past that you'd like to share for people to get a feel sort of for the day of the event.
I felt it was very well organized, very complete. The breakout rooms were, I would have liked to have seen more of the breakout rooms. I don't know in the future if it's possible to record those and then have us listen to them after, but there was a lot of ones that I wanted to see that I couldn't. Yeah, everything seemed to work very smoothly that day.
It's great. Any other comments or feedback for the symposium?
This is Courtney. Yeah, I really enjoyed attending the symposium. A couple of things that I took away were I really enjoyed having the two keynote speakers. That was really interesting. So just one, so kind of two takeaway messages that I really liked. And then I thought the tech support was amazing. It can be so challenging, I think, to support with people physically in rooms with slideshows, maybe microphones, but then also to have the support to be on Zoom and have a virtual audience. I was just blown away by the hands-on, their boots on the ground people that were there. They were wonderful.
Yeah, and we had some of you may know Christian Gray. He was, ironically, he couldn't make the event because he was in quarantine. He usually will make the events, and so he was online, really helping us navigate different and or any issues that were coming up. So that was super helpful. This is sort of a look at the history and evolution of the symposium. The first meeting was sort of held in the fall of 2017. I think 20 nurse leaders came together from across the region and were developing the ideas for the symposium and came up with a 5-year program. That first inaugural symposium actually ran over 2 days, October 4th through 5th. That also falls over Sigma Founders Day. Ironically, I thought, as I was, some of you may have gotten my Founders Day message, sort of paying respect to those nurses who started the symposium and where we are today. And we've now, again, as I said earlier, we've adapted to doing both a virtual, hybrid model so people can attend both in person or online. And now we're going into our 8th year. This is just a look at the previous host chapters. The first chapter in 2018 was Moo chapter. And I'm sorry, Denise, are you part of Moo chapter, did you say? I don't know if we have Denise online, but I know that in that first symposium, there was a visit to the United Nations. I think there was a great trip there. Marilee, were you there? Were you raising your hand? Oh, you're muted.
I was there, Jason, and it was a wonderful experience because as you know, Sigma is a non-governmental body, organization rather, of the United Nations. We had one-on-one tour, and then they provided a free lunch for us, which was just amazing. It was a very informative and collegial meeting, or I should say experience. Very well done.
I agree. I was hoping that would come up because it was just, I have not forgotten that at all. It was amazing. And I think one of the takeaways from that might be whatever region or wherever we are, possibly offering something like that. Every region has something related to health, museum or something that people might be interested in. So it might be a thought for the.
No, I
You know,
like that.
Marilee, we did offer that in 18 and 19, and then COVID hit.
Of
And
course,
so
right.
the next three symposiums were virtual. So
Yeah.
we've done some, we did some creative presentations with some nurses from different parts of the world bringing greetings, but we weren't able to provide an experience in the area. So hopefully that will continue going forward.
So then 2019, Kappa Zeta at Large, University of New England, Deb Kramlich was, I think, part chair of that committee. And then, as we said, the pandemic in 2020 at IOTA in New Hampshire. I think the three New Hampshire chapters actually collaborated together. So all the New Hampshire
Yes, they
chapters,
did.
right? So, and that was done virtually, as well as the one, Nancy, as you said, Beta Zeta at Large in 2021. Roro chapter up in Nova Scotia. It was all virtual in 2022. And then Boston College, we then transitioned to our hybrid model, doing both in person and online for still respecting people who were separating at that point. And then this past year at Delta Epsilon at Large. So our upcoming host chapters that we have this year is Omega Mu at Large. And then next year is going to be Mu chapter at University of Connecticut. We have Omicron Z chapter in 2027. And then a little question mark in 2028, which will be the 10th year of the symposium. So looking a little bit into the future, I love, Nancy, you've said this and it's stuck with me and I say it all the time. We've come out of infancy and we're in adolescence. We have grown and we've learned some lessons in the last 5 years. And the model, has been that a chapter would raise their hand and say, we want to host the symposium. And I think what we've learned is that this symposium requires the talent of all people in the region to be successful. We've grown. We have amazing keynote speakers and endnote speakers every year. We have support from Sigma headquarters, but it is a big undertaking. And not any one chapter can do this work alone. And moving forward, in collaboration with the strategic planning committee for the region, we can't always be focused on the one planning committee. We have to be thinking about 3 years from now, 5 years from now, what is this going to look like? Moving forward, the chair for the symposium will be the regional coordinator. There's a couple of reasons for that. Your regional coordinator, myself, is an elected and vetted position. And the symposium has grown to a point where we have great vendors and sponsorship opportunities. We've gotten great involvement from students. And there may be opportunities in the future to coordinate with a global regional chapter to somehow collaborate with this event. And so the hope will be moving forward is that as the delegations come together at biannuum and you pick your regional coordinator, you will look for someone who will have those organizational skill sets and delegation skill sets to ensure that, this big event is successful moving forward, and will be a person who has been part of the planning committees in the past and will be a big support for whoever their co-chair and whoever the host chapter will be for that year. The other part of this is that, yes, there will continue to be a planning committee for every year, but the strategic planning committee for Region 15 will take over the future direction of the symposium. And that will be for things such as choosing a site and location. Something that we discovered this year as we're going into next year's symposium is that, Vermont, we are very limited in conference spaces. And during this time of year, when the symposium is held in the fall, it's leaf peeper season. And so places like Killington and Stowe, all those great places, beautiful venues, but $12,000 to $15,000. That's really not conducive to, supporting our budget. And the colleges and universities that we have in Vermont, to be able to host a venue with over 100 attendees, with different breakout rooms, places for vendors and sponsors, are just limited. We're lucky this year. We're going to be hosting next year's symposium at the University of Vermont Davis Center. It will be on Saturday, October 4th. And so at least now we have some dates. We do have a location. And we got moving on selecting a site earlier on because especially knowing where the academic calendars fall and that it's leaf peeping season, we wanted to move on getting the location, securing that in some place that was affordable. And that really ended up being one of the most affordable spaces. And we learned some great lessons this past year. Again, Delta Epsilon did an amazing job with our sponsorship and vendors this past year. And we're actually bringing some of those people in again to sort of help this next year because we've got some great opportunities there. And, there will also be opportunities to ask the chapters throughout the region to support the event as well. So again, going back to the future, where do we want to go? Collaboration potentials with the global regions, technology. It's great to hear that people had some good experiences with the technology. It can be cumbersome depending again on the venue where you're holding it, what you have for IT support, and just navigating that piece is some consideration. And I'm working with headquarters right now to try to see if there's other technology applications that we might have available to us through Sigma's own network of conference program management. The support and bandwidth, that really is just, again, it's speaking to this becoming an overall regional collaborative event, not just falling on one chapter to have to take on the full responsibility for the symposium. And then sustainability moving forward. How do we keep this symposium sustainable? Again, through some of the points I've already mentioned, but also a big part of that is the financial piece as well. So this is sort of a symposium overview, almost like a, follow the trail of what starts to happen. So, we're starting with the introduction and orientation, right? And then we move into our monthly meetings. The first planning committee meeting will be on Wednesday, January 8th at 7 p.m. So these planning committee meetings will fall on the first Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. Then we go into, who your chair and co-chair is. You have myself as chair this year, Karen McKenney, my wonderful co-chair. Then we have a 2026 host chapter representative. So there's Hope Moo chapter in Connecticut. I think Denise is on the call for that. They're going to be hosting next year. I know Liz from your chapter, the president, has reached out to me, and that will be the 2026 host chapter. And the idea is that when there's going to be a host chapter for the upcoming year, that they attend the current year planning committee. So they have an understanding of sort of what is involved and what it looks like, and they can bring that back to their chapter. Then we have, various committees, work groups that help. We've got, people working on our website and social media. We have our site search committee, which that work has already been done. Then we have our abstracts, or sorry, creating a budget. This is going to follow this. Creating the budget with our treasurer, developing a theme for the conference that really helps us determine our, what our asks are for our keynotes and our endnote speakers and what the call for abstracts will look like. We have a speaker recruitment committee who are, to look at who we're going to get for our keynote and endnote speakers, working on sponsorships, hotel blocks, abstracts, our CEUs and evaluations, the marketing, judges and moderators. So, during the symposium, we have people who are judging both the podium and the poster sessions. This year, we were able to give a best podium and poster for both a nursing professional as well as a students, which was really nice. And then our, awards, what we're going to do for awards, our social connection committee, they put together sort of the dinners following the symposium and any fun activities that we do when people are in the area. And then 2 weeks after the symposium, we hold a debrief. So that, as you can see, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of pieces, which is why we need the support. And so any questions on this before I move on? I don't want to lose anyone behind. If not, then I will move on. Okay. Oh, yes. Yeah.
I was wondering, please excuse my dogs. I was wondering, is this going to be a hybrid event in Vermont or any of the future ones? Because I wasn't clear about the labeling. Personally, I'm in favor of that.
It will be. Yep.
Okay.
We're going to
Thank
keep the hybrid model. Yep.
Terrific.
Nope. Good question. So these are,
Jason,
yeah.
oh, sorry, Jason.
Yeah, no,
when
sure.
do we on that timeline really solidify who the subgroups are and who's on them?
The first meeting in January.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So these are our monthly meetings. Again, the first Wednesday of the month, 7 p.m. This just gives you an overview of that. So now sort of an overview of the committees and the work groups. So you know who your chair and co-chair are. Chair, myself, and then we've got Karen McKenney on the call, who will be co-chair. We facilitate over the meetings and have oversight of committees, including assigning roles as needed, and the co-chair will act in the absence of the chair. Our treasurer for our chapter is Sue Shorn. Another piece of this is I have reached out to headquarters to see if there is a way that we can create a separate account just for the symposium. And the reason for that is it's cumbersome having money move from chapter to chapter, and we want good accounting of the symposium. And what's going in, what's going out. For some chapters, this can be cumbersome. And for some chapters, the treasurer, they didn't really have a voice in saying, oh, we're going to host the symposium. And then, comes time for the symposium and they have to write checks and do deposits and they have to manage a lot. And it is a big ask. And so I have reached out to headquarters to say, how could we do this and host one separate account for the symposium? It has worked. We've done this for 8 years now, and, we haven't had really any hiccups. I think a lot of the treasurers would say it seems daunting taking that on. And so, but I think that it will be better for accounting purposes and tracking to have one separate account. So I'm hopeful that that piece can happen. Sue wasn't able to make it on the call tonight, but we'll support her through that role moving forward. We've talked about having the next year's host chapter representative for 2026, part of this year's planning committee, and we'll hope that we have some people from Moo chapter this year. We have our site search committee. This piece has been completed. Kara, myself, another member from our chapter got started on this in September, and we went through all the pricing and were able to find a site and get a save the date out early, which is great. Webmaster and social media. So if there's anyone
Jason?
here, oh yes,
Jason,
please. Yes,
quick question.
Yep.
What city is the University of Vermont located?
In Burlington.
It is, oh, good. Thank you. You know why I'm laughing.
Yeah. So if we have anyone who enjoys just doing some posting on Facebook, right? Like there doesn't have to be big asks in this. Sometimes it's going into the circle and just keeping people updated, getting conversation starting on the symposium, interacting with, we're going to maybe start an Instagram site, but with our Facebook and just, again, getting content out to members across the region and to post content. So thinking of anyone who is great with that, please. Even the day of the event, we need people to take photos and post them on Facebook or share stories or content. That would be wonderful. Developing a theme. This is, if anyone has ideas, drop them in the chat. We have typically gone with our organizational call to action. This past year, we took Dr. Bibb, current president of Sigma, represent, reflect, and response. And we built that into sort of the conference theme. But times are changing, and sometimes we integrate themes based on sort of what the current climate in nursing is. And so, if there are any thoughts on this, and this will really start to develop at our first planning committee meeting. In fact, there's going to be some ask from the region about developing some theme ideas so we can have some themes to vote on after our first planning committee meeting in January. Then we have our sponsorship task force. They secure financial support from diverse entities to ensure the sustainability of the annual symposium. Operating from January to August, this task force focuses on chapter sponsors until May and continues with other sponsors through the summer. The task force develops sponsorship tiers, actively pursues partnerships, and manages all aspects of sponsorship acquisition and fulfillment. So this is a really important role. We had amazing support this past year from our sponsorships, but we learned some lessons too. I think one of the exciting things was historically, I think this was one of the best years of turnout for sponsorships and vendors. And how do we acknowledge them during the symposium, or what are the different tiers? Do they get program space? So there's some, brainstorming around that. And so would love people involved with that task force. Then we have our speaker recruitment task force, who are looking at speakers, identify potential keynote and endnote speakers, considering Sigma leadership in Region 15. I will say this past year, we got Liz Westcott, who's president-elect of Sigma, who did our fabulous endnote this past year, really getting support from headquarters on that as well. Final speaker recommendations and presented at the March Planning Committee meeting for Region 15 members to vote and finalize. Any questions on speaker recruitment? Okay. Our hotel block task force. So, typically we want to start looking for affordable lodging for symposium attendees. As I've already said, it's peak season. No matter what throughout our region, it's peak season, right? We're New England, and even this past year at Rhode Island, I mean, some of the hotels were $600-700. There were different events going on during that weekend. So we want to get an early start to offering some affordable choices for people when they come in to attend the symposium. So this task force just looks at maybe it's Airbnbs and the different hotels and lodging that we have in the area, so that we can put that out to members early, and they can secure that without getting closer to the date of the symposium when prices are really at their peak.
Jason,
Jason, I have a
know-
question.
sorry, I did a bunch of research recently with area hotels already looking at that weekend, and 2 of them were already fully booked. So I'm wondering if we want to pull that date back to April.
I was just going to suggest that.
Yeah, if we wait to secure hotel rooms by June, we may have slim pickings.
So what,
I think we should do it even by March,
Yeah,
because people do plan way ahead, and
yeah,
we're gonna lose out if we don't do it sooner than later, for sure.
I
so
agree.
I live
perfect.
in Burlington, Vermont area, and my daughter's getting married next year in September. And our hotel blocks are already booked, and that was done about a month ago, and it was very difficult to get a hotel.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
probably should be a priority.
yeah.
Yep. So we will definitely then move on that. And I think part of the reason why the hotel blocks were later on here is because we haven't had the website available and registration available until, a certain period of time, right? Like there's the
So can
website
you,
and registration opens typically, well, this year it was in August. And
right, so
so
can't you set aside a block? I mean, you take a risk that you won't use up all your block of rooms, but you could still set aside a block that we would be responsible for as a symposium planning committee financially, before we need to have people registering to fill those rooms.
totally. And again, so we can definitely move on that now. I
Yeah,
think it
that'd
was
be great.
just, what we can do if registration isn't open for some reason. I think this year we're going to open our registration up, by July, I think, for people to attend the symposium, but we might put information out earlier than that to say, get your rooms now. We're going to send out a save the date. I think we'll put that out now that we know the date, we'll get that out. And in that email with the save the date, we say, secure your rooms now. It's peak season, and hopefully maybe we can even get started on looking for hotel blocks. I mean, no reason why we can't start now.
Yeah, I think we should. And Terry, Cahill, it's not homecoming weekend for UVM, right?
I don't believe so, but while we're talking, let me double check that date.
Yeah,
Good
that'd be
point, Karen.
critical to know.
Yeah,
And
I'm
then,
surprised. I think Jason wouldn't have been able to book the Davis Center if it was, so,
yeah,
but I'll double check that while we're on the call.
all right, that'd be great. And then, yeah, and it being, Jason being a smaller rural kind of state versus Rhode Island, another reason that we should probably jump on setting up, block rooms sooner than later.
If anyone is interested in helping with this work who's on the call right now, please drop your name in the chat and we can, get started. And if we need hands, at least we know who to reach out to. That would be wonderful. All
I'll
right.
definitely help.
I had one other question. Somebody mentioned about Airbnb and bed and breakfast and things. I don't know if there's any way we could help people put like groups together for an Airbnb, say. I don't know. I've never done anything like that. I mean, I've used them a lot, but not like that. But I don't know if that's ever been done.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a possibility that, there could be, 3 or 4 people who want to get one house, and that would be much more affordable than what a hotel would be. So, great point.
Well, it has me thinking, good point, Marilee, about starting like a listserv or something so that we could find each other. Like, oh, hey, I'm coming. I'd be interested 2 or 3 people to rent a house and Airbnb because there's a lot of that availability, especially if you're early in the ski areas and the stow areas and stuff. So starting something electronically that we could connect with each other as early as possible would be helpful too.
Oh,
And I
that's
checked, it's not alumni weekend at University of Vermont, so we are good there.
One break.
All right. Awesome. All right. And then we have our abstract review committee. So as we have 4 to 8 member abstract review committee that finalized the call for abstract form by February 15th. Implementation of an electronic submission system. They peer review abstracts from mid-May to the end of May and notify presenters by June 5th and collect acceptances and financial disclosures by June 30th. This ensures a timely, efficient abstract management process for the symposium. Again, these dates are not, nailed in cement, but this is previously what we've done from previous years. And then we have CEU and evaluations. So this committee will recruit moderators and judges starting in August, September, and may also draw from symposium attendees. Moderators introduce presenters and manage the session timing. Judges use rubrics to evaluate presentations. The team coordinates rubric distribution, collects scores, and determines best presentations. Recruitment and training are completed 1 month before the symposium. One liaison from the planning committee to organize these activities would be ideal. I know this past year we had Catherine Thomas, who did a great job, and she's raised her hand and said she would love to help with this and maybe help do some of the rubric stuff for this upcoming year. But this is just another way to participate. And then we have our moderators and judges. You know what? I think this might have got copied from the CEU and evaluations, actually. So my apologies on that. Let me go back. So the CEU process, obviously, there's a little bit more to that. So I think what happened is these two slides didn't update. Emily, not to call you out, but you gave some really great feedback on the CEU part. Can you just speak a little bit to who we used this past year and just speak a little bit to that process?
Yeah, we submitted to Northeast Multi-State. It's their fee is $85 per contact hour, and so it came out to a little over $400. If we had submitted it to the CEU office at URI, it would have been $1,500. We so everybody had to submit the financial relationship form, and there was I submitted it really early in August, and there were no corrections.
Yeah, you did a great job with that. And thank you, Emily. So, that just gives an overview of the CEU process. I'm sure none of us, some of us are familiar with this just being in academia, but it's something that we always love for people to do that piece to help out. And then our social connection work group, the social connection work group plans engaging activities for symposium attendees. Nancy, I put in a build a nurse bear right in there for you. Maybe visits to Stowe Mountain Resort or winery.
Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome. Organizing dinners, coordinating transportation. I think some of this planning, in the future, we haven't, we have a 1 day symposium event right now. This isn't a multi-day symposium. So, in the future, are there more opportunities for people to gather? What's worked well right now, the past couple of years, is after the symposium, there are, 4 or 5 different restaurants that we choose, and people get to decide which restaurant they want to go to. I went out this past year. I think Nancy and Cheryl and I and a couple of other members from Delta Epsilon. There were 8 of us. It was great. But it's just a great way to sort of decompress and connect again after the symposium. But this committee would look at that and see, what restaurants would we choose, or activities as well. And then we have our marketing task force that promotes the symposium.
Did you do a Build-A-Bear workshop last year?
What was that, Marilee?
Did you do a Build-A-Bear workshop last year?
No. So up in Vermont,
Sounds
we have the
cool.
Teddy Bear Factory. And so Nancy has been, chopping at the bit to build a bear since earlier this year, since she knew we were hosting in Vermont. So,
okay, cool.
But no, maybe to come in the future, Marilyn.
Okay.
Well, maybe we could, the committee this year could look at perhaps having some optional events like going to the teddy bear factory, maybe the evening before. It's like, I know there were 3 of us that came from Massachusetts to Rhode Island, and we came up on Friday, early afternoon we wanted to beat the traffic. And we kind of like hung out on Friday night. So if something were available, say in the afternoon of that Friday, we could plan ahead, those of us who wanted to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has to be a Sigma nurse, Jason.
Okay. And then moving on with the marketing task force, collaborating with headquarters for email outreach, engaging members on the circle, utilizing social media platforms, The team focuses on increasing both in-person and virtual attendance, following a strategic timeline aligned with established Region 15 communication channels. So one of the things that's been developed during my tenure as regional coordinator is we have a Region 15 newsletter. I'm sure many of you have seen that. Our first one went out in August. Our next one will be coming out in the new year. And then we have a timeline for that newsletter to support the symposium. So the first newsletter will go out in January. We'll have the save the dates on there with some pertinent information on the symposium and who the planning committee is. The next newsletter will go out sometime in March or April, and that newsletter will sort of highlight a call for abstracts. And so, for anyone even on the call today, if you're in academia, you're at academic institutions, we want your students to submit their abstracts, do a poster, a podium presentation, get that out to them so they can be part of this. These are the various marketing methods.
Question.
Oh, yes.
I'm so
Go ahead.
sorry,
No,
Jason.
you're fine.
And this might be a really silly question, but to have the students submit the abstracts, you say have your students submit the abstracts. It's open to all students in the nursing program. They don't have to be Sigma members, right? Can you just clarify that for me?
Correct. And I think, Nancy,
Thank
can you speak a little bit to that? Because I know that you've been supportive of students, submitting abstracts. They don't have to be, Sigma members yet because we open this to all nurses, correct, and students?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a way to certainly cultivate interest with students in becoming involved in Sigma Theta Tau.
Absolutely, yeah.
But no,
Yeah,
this
that's
is,
what
I mean,
I'm
our
trying to-
commitment has really become stronger, and I see it becoming even more strong in relationship to developing students and having them more involved in our symposium. And I know, Jason, you're on board with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I made it a point to go over to each, person who submitted, students especially who submitted poster abstracts or podium abstracts to just shake their hand, introduce myself, and just get them, drinking the Sigma Kool-Aid a little bit, and fostering that mentorship, right? We want to represent what we want in the future, right? You just be the change you want to see. So we're all sort of supporting that right now.
Jason, I'm going to have to find you some purple Kool-Aid. I wonder if Amazon has it.
There we go. Um, and then this here, this is our marketing methods, just different things that we do throughout the year. We have Facebook and Instagram, weekly emails. We utilize the Circle, the Region 15 Digest on the Circle. We have the leader lines and the Sigma updates that come out. We have tabling events that we do throughout the year. We have our different member outreaches, the Region 15 town halls. We have the newsletter, then the chapters promoting this event. We post flyers. We utilize the marketing team at headquarters, and then getting it out to nursing podcasts and emailing past attendees. So there's a lot of opportunity here to engage and get the marketing out for this symposium. And this is a work in progress. One of the things that's exciting is we've got a lot of momentum, we've got a lot of involvement, and having our strategic planning committee looking at this moving forward, it will be a living working document. Things change and we're tweaking things and we learn what works. And, that's why having the strategic planning committee really focusing on the future year symposiums is really helpful. So hopefully I've sold you on the symposium. It's an incredible event. Please, if you're interested in being on the planning committee officially, if there's a role that you want to play, I mean, again, and I'm trying to make this so that not every person needs to attend every month. There are there are certain committees and task force, I want to appreciate that everyone has a life outside of all the great volunteer work that you already do for Sigma. So there are roles big and small, but please, you can go to that QR code, put your name in there, or just drop it in the chat. If you already know a committee or task force that you want to be a part of, drop that in there. I would say take the information that you learned from this information session back to your chapters. I don't mind students getting involved. There's, maybe you have a student who is really great with social media or marketing and want to be part of that. Please, let us know. So the first meeting will be on Wednesday again, January 8th, 7 p.m. Please let me know if you want to be on the official committee, and we'll get that information out there. Any ideas about the conference theme, or people have thoughts on that? We'd love to know. This is my contact information, and I've got this with 7 minutes left of an hour. And if there are questions or comments, would love to just open it up and, yeah,
I don't
Marilyn.
think you'd be willing to share these slides, just at least the different committees part. Because we have a meeting
Absolutely.
next week, and it would be great to maybe get some other people interested.
I think what I'll do is when I send the recording out, Marilee, I'll also include the PowerPoint.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay.
And then other chapters could use a PowerPoint. If they wanted to just, if you have a board meeting or you're getting information out to your members, you can utilize that as well. Any other questions or thoughts or feedback? All right. Oh, Liz, yeah.
Yes, just one more question. So you had said that if we are coming up to host the symposium, that we should definitely be on the planning committees coming up, right?
Correct. And so, what we have, the format's changed a little right now, because typically what's happened each year is that a chapter has raised their hand to say, we're going to host it, right? But then that's a lot to fall on that chapter. And I think that the strategic planning committee for the Region 15 strategic planning committee, is really going to be the one to sort of look at, which chapters are able to host and sites, because we want to take in venue cost consideration, because of the differences throughout the region. But that doesn't mean that, the sites that we look at, if there are chapters that want to help, co-host that or host the symposium, absolutely, let us know. And I think we're still trying to iron that out, Liz, because again, a chapter would say, yes, we'll host it this year. And then they realize, wow, there's a lot of parts to this.
Yeah.
And right, this needs to be a larger, regional supportive event. So more to that to come.
Jason, I'd also suggest that you share from the evaluations of the most recent symposium some of the suggestions that attendees made for future symposiums, because that might give us some direction as well in terms of developing a theme.
Perfect. And I think maybe we'll do that at our very first planning committee in January.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions or feedback? Well, I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I hope this was helpful. I hope you gained some insight into the symposium. I'm going to go ahead and just stop the recording right now, and I will stay on if anyone just wants to